Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Source. Looking like a break-even day. We actually had a winning night. Unfortunately, I started the day with minus 0.75 units because of the stupid-ass Texas Rangers. So I think we're going to be slightly in the red, like maybe minus 0.3 or something. Was a fun day. Wish the Giants pulled it out, though. But let's move on. 4th of July, 15 games to go through. Loaded slate. Let's do it.
Welcome to The Source. The Source. Hey, get the Source.
First up, Reds at Nats in Washington. Brett Kennedy making his first start since 2018. He's pitching against my man Patrick Corbin. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we got Cincinnati open up as minus 140 favorites. Total opens up at 10.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we got 3-2 Cincinnati after 5 innings. Final score 6-4 Reds. So like I said, we got Patrick Corbin on the mound, and here are his last 10 starts on a chart. Notice there's some huge spikes here. Obviously not what you want to see when you're looking at pitching numbers. That being said, look at the specific games where the production spikes. At San Diego, at Houston, at Dodger Stadium, at Royals. All on the road. In fact, if we isolate Patrick Corbin's numbers to only his home start since May 1st, he's got a 3.48 ERA and a 0.3 home runs per 9. 139 whip isn't great. But a FIP at even 3, those are solid looking numbers. Patrick Corbin's been somewhat reliable at home. He's definitely going to have his hands full in this one, though, because he's got to pitch against this Reds lineup. And they've been hitting lefties, too. We've been going over their numbers against righties over the last couple weeks, but they've been hitting lefties, too. In the last 14 days, they're 19th in average. Not great, but the power numbers are definitely there. 3rd in isolated power, 7th in OPS, 9th in WRC+. That being said, Cincinnati hasn't really seen many lefty starters recently. On the last week, they did see Cole Irvin and Adrian Morejon, I think is how you say it. Both those guys only pitched 3 innings, though. If you look at the production, the Reds only scored 1 run combined off both those guys, but again, they only pitched 3 innings apiece. Before that, you have to go back to June 24th and June 19th to find more lefty starts against the Reds. It was Jared Schuster and Austin Gomer, and Cincinnati smacked both of those guys up pretty bad. On the other side, we got Brett Kennedy, and like I said, he's throwing his first major league pitch since 2018. Reds just signed this guy back in May. He's actually got decent looking numbers in AAA. You can see here he's got a 2.89 ERA and a 1.07 whip on the road in AAA. Those are some solid looking numbers. I don't know how much weight you put into AAA numbers, but solid looking numbers on the road. And he's pitching against Washington here. It's not like the Nats bats have been setting the world on fire recently. 13th in isolated power, 18th in OPS, 20th in WRC+. So Washington's been somewhat formidable against right-handed pitching, but as a whole, this shouldn't be that scary of a spot for Kennedy to make his first start in 5 years. Here's what makes this game insanely difficult to bet: the bullpen matchup. This gets disgusting. Here are the bullpen numbers from the last 14 days. You can make an argument that these are the 2 coldest bullpens in all of baseball. ERA, whip, FIP, and expected FIP. Both of these teams bottom 5 in every single category. In fact, they're bottom 2 or 3 in mostly all of them. Makes it really tough to make a prediction here. As of right now, I think I'm going to take Washington on the first 5. I'm going to take those weird-ass bullpen numbers and just disregard them. Stick to the first 5 innings. Take Patrick Corbin at home where he's been better against a guy making his first major league pitch in 5 years. So I'm leaning Nats first 5 money line minus 105 next game. Orioles at Yankees. It's Schmitty day. Kyle Gibson pitching against Clark Schmidt. Baltimore opens up as minus 125 favorites. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. Not much of a lean here. We got 3-2 Baltimore after 5 innings. Final score 4-4. So actually 9 innings score 4-4, I should say. So like I said, it's Schmitty day. So let's start by taking a look at Clark's production over his last 10 starts. And you can see it's actually better than you might think. With the exception of the Toronto start and the White Sox start, the other 8 are all solid. Look at the FIP numbers. That's the white line. Basically 4 or below in 8 of his 10 starts. And it gets even nicer looking for Schmitty when you look at his numbers from his last 4 starts at home. His last 4 home starts, he's got a 2.08 ERA and a 1.11 whip. These starts were against Texas, the White Sox, that's a bad one, but Texas, Baltimore, and Boston too. So it's not like he's gotten an easy stretch of schedule. Speaking of Baltimore, I have to mention that Clark Schmidt's already pitched against the Orioles twice this year. He got completely rocked in Baltimore, but in Yankee Stadium, he dealt against this team. This one, it's in Yankee Stadium again. It's a nice sign for Clark. To take it a step further, here are the Baltimore numbers against right-handed pitching over the last 14 days. Not very impressive at all. Just 28th in average, 26th in OPS, 25th in WRC+. I think all signs point towards Schmitty Clark Schmidt throwing a good game here. On the other side, we've got Kyle Gibson, and he's definitely had an up and down year. But if you look at his last 10 starts on this chart and pay attention specifically to his FIP numbers, he's actually been a little more consistent than you may think. 8 of his last 10 starts, he's had a FIP of 4 or below. That's definitely solid. Even his last start in Seattle, you can see the earned runs numbers just off the charts here. But the FIP number, not even close, which means he had some terrible luck in that game. Kyle Gibson's history against the Yankees, a bit of a tough read. He did pitch a great game against them on May 25th, 7 shutout innings. But the other 10 career starts he's made against the Yankees weren't great at all. 6.75 ERA, 162 whip. So historically, Kyle Gibson's really struggled against the Yankees, but he pitched an absolute gem against them in his last start on May 25th. But how much weight do we even put in those Kyle Gibson starts against the Yankees in years past? Because this Yankees lineup without Aaron Judge is definitely so different than the Yankees lineups of years past. In the last 14 days, you already know how bad it's been. 27th in WRC+, 28th in OPS. This just isn't a good offense right now. And I truly think Kyle Gibson can throw another good game against the Yanks here. But when we get to the bullpens, there's no question the advantage goes to the Yankees here. Yanks have had one of the strongest bullpens in baseball for over a month now. In the last 14 days, the Yankees bullpen is 4th in ERA, 7th in whip, 6th in FIP. So I like the spot for Clark Schmidt, and I like the Yankees bullpen, and I'm getting him at home at plus money. I mean, I think I got to take that. Do I think the Yankees are going to hit Kyle Gibson? Maybe not. Probably not. But I still think there's good value on the Yankees money line here. I'd also lean under. Next game, Cardinals at Marlins. Adam Wainwright pitching against Jesus Luzardo. Marlins opened up as big favorites here, minus 175. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spread team. We got a huge lean on Miami here. 5-1 Marlins after 5 innings. 7-3 Marlins final score. So like I said, we got Luzardo on the mound at home. So let's start off by taking a look at his home away splits. And if you notice, it's not nearly as extreme looking as they were last week, because Luzardo just went on the road into Fenway Park and threw an absolute gem. 6 1/3 innings pitched, 0 runs, just 3 hits. But still, as a whole, Luzardo's been a lot more productive at home than on the road. But I'm going to say the same thing in this game that I said last night. Look at the Cardinals' bats against lefties recently. This lineup is all the way back when it comes to hitting lefties. Looking like the Cardinals lineup of last year that led the league in WRC plus versus lefties. In the last 14 days, they're 5th in average, 4th in OPS, 5th in WRC plus. Look at what happened in last night's game. Nobody's been hitting Braxton Garrett. Cards, 7 hits and 3 runs off him. I know Luzardo's been good as hell at home, and I know he looked excellent in his last start in Fenway Park. That being said, I have faith in St. Louis to score runs here in this game. But my faith in St. Louis ends right there, because there's just no way in hell I can bet the Cardinals with Adam Wainwright pitching. This season's just been a nightmare for Wainwright. Doesn't even seem to be getting better, honestly. You can look on this chart. Actually looks like it's getting worse. There's just no way I could back Adam Wainwright until he shows me something. So I think I'm leaning over in this one. I haven't fully decided yet, but I'm going to say over 8.5 for now. Next game. Rangers at Red Sox. Dane Dunning pitching against Caleb Ort, at least I think. As I'm recording this, we have no line, no total. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we got 3-2 Rangers after 5 innings. Final score 5-3 Rangers. So like I said, I'm going to skip this one for now. No line, no total. Usually that leads me to believe there may be a change in the starting pitchers. As of right now, it's Dane Dunning versus Caleb Ort. We'll see in the morning if it's still there. I'll probably have a bet for this one on the live show tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Next game. Royals at Twins. Zach Greinke pitching against Kenta Maeda. Twins opened up as heavy favorites here as expected, minus 180. Total opens up at 8. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet here. We got a lean on Minnesota, but not as intense of a lean as you might have thought it would be. 4-3 Twins after 5 innings. Final score 6-4 Twins. So Zach Greinke making a road start, and let's pull up his splits. At first glance, this might be pretty scary looking. 3.67 ERA at home jumps up to a 7.04 on the road. But if you look at the other numbers, WOBA's pretty similar. The whip is actually lower on the road. FIP isn't a huge difference either. I don't really think there's much weight in Zach Greinke's home away splits this year. Certainly not as much as it has been in years past. So let's just forget the home away splits. Let's just look at Zach Greinke's numbers in the month of June. How did he pitch last month? Answer, pretty terrible. He made 5 starts in the month of June. He's 0-3 with a 7.56 ERA and a 168 whip. Zach Greinke just straight up isn't pitching well right now. Good news for Zach Greinke, though. The Twins lineup just hasn't been hitting right-handed starters at all. Here are their numbers against righties in the last 30 days. You can see just not impressive at all. 22nd in WRC+, 24th in OPS. Definitely nothing scary here. Look at the last 8 righty starters to pitch against Minnesota. They got to Dean Kramer. They did. But other than that, I mean, righties are just taking turns racking up quality starts against this Twins lineup. I really don't know if I trust these bats at all right now. So a bit of a question mark here with Greinke versus the Twins. On the other side, we've got Kenta Maeda pitching, and I don't know if 2 starts is enough of a sample size, but look at the difference in his production before his injury and after his injury, because he was off to a terrible start to this season. Through his first 4 starts, he had an ERA at 9, 163 whip. But then look at his numbers from his 2 starts since he's returned from injury. He's been unbelievable. A 180 ERA, 120 whip, 209 FIP. He's been dynamite, and one of those starts was on the road in Atlanta. Add on the fact that the Royals bats have really never seen Kenta Maeda before. In their entire career, the Royals lineup combined is just 1 of 9 with a 311 OPS off Maeda. So I think we can count on Kenta to deal here, which is why I'm most likely backing Minnesota here. I'm not sure if I'm going to take the Twins -1.5, or I might take the Royals team total under, or the Twins money line parlayed with the Royals team total under. Something along those lines. I'll let you know on the live show at 11 a.m. next game. Rockies at Astros. Brandon Bielak pitching against Kyle Freeland. Another game where we have no line and no total. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we got a first 5 lean on Colorado. 4-3 Rockies after 5 innings. 9 inning score, 6-6. So like I said, we got no line, no total for this one, so I'm skipping it for now. Usually that indicates that there might be a change in the starting pitchers. I'll let you know what I end up doing in this game on the live show at 11 a.m. next game. Mets at D-backs. Kodai Senga pitching against Zach Davies. Mets opened up as slight road favorites here, -115. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we got a deadlock 3-3 tie after 5 innings and a deadlock 5-5 tie after 9 innings. So no lean at all there. I feel like I just can't get a read on Kodai Senga at all. Here are his last 10 starts on a chart. It really doesn't look that bad. In fact, if you take out the Toronto start and the Cincinnati start, this is some pretty consistent production here. And remember when Kodai Senga was struggling on the road earlier in the season? Those days seem to be in the past also. Here are his numbers from his last 2 road starts. 146 ERA, 114 whip, 304 FIP. I mean, he's pitched back-to-back solid games on the road. Now, one of those was in Pittsburgh. The other one was in Philly. And not going to lie, I kind of have some questions about the Arizona bats recently. Look at this chart here. On the left side, you'll see the Arizona numbers against right-handed pitching in the last 30 days. And as you can see, I mean, business as usual for Arizona. 4th in OPS, 6th in WRC+. Great looking numbers in the last 30 days against righties. But if you look on the other side, here are the D-backs numbers versus righties in the last 7 days. And as you can see, there's been a huge drop off in production. 17th in OPS, 21st in WRC+. And if you look at the last 5 righty starters to pitch against Arizona, again, we're getting some mixed data here. As you can see, Logan Webb and Zach Eflin and DeSclafani all pitched pretty solid games against Arizona, but the D-backs lit Griffin Canning and Taj Bradley the hell up bad. So, I mean, I don't really know what to think here. I don't have a ton of faith in Kodai Senga going on the road in Arizona, but at the same time, I don't know if I have a ton of faith in the Arizona bats either. The mystery just gets even deeper when we take a look at Zach Davies' stuff on the other side. Here are his 6 starts in June on a chart, and you can see the 3 starts in the middle are just terrible on paper. The earned runs numbers just off the charts bad. This chart only goes up to 10. They're significantly higher than that. But look at his FIP numbers. That's the white line. This is indicating that this dude hasn't pitched nearly as bad as his numbers are showing. And then look at Davies' last start, an absolute masterpiece against Tampa. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 walks, and no runs. I mean, if he could shut the Tampa Bay Rays bats down, surely he can shut the Mets bats down. Not that the Mets bats have been bad in any way. In fact, the Mets bats seem to be slowly improving every single week against right-handed pitching. Here are the numbers against righties in the last 14 days. 11th in WRC+, 13th in OPS. So the Mets lineup certainly isn't dead at all. In fact, I kind of like Zach Davies to come back down to earth a little bit of a hangover after that brilliant Tampa start. I think the Mets are going to score a few runs off him. Obviously, I don't have a ton of faith in the Mets bullpen, but I don't really trust the Arizona bullpen either. So I'm leaning Mets here as of right now, but I don't want to make a decision on this one yet. I want to see what the line does. So I'll give you a final bet for this one on the live show at 11 a.m. next game. Phillies at Rays. Aaron Nola pitching against Zach Eflin. Tampa opens up as very slight favorites here, -115. Total opens up all the way down at 7. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got leans on Tampa here. 3-2 Tampa after 5 innings. Final score 5-3 Tampa. Well, it's Zach Eflin making a start at home in Tampa Bay. So I could probably just cut this video off right here and blindly bet the Rays. In case you haven't heard, Zach Eflin at home has been almost unbeatable this year. Well, he has been unbeatable. He's made 8 home starts, and he is a perfect 8-0 in those starts. 2.17 ERA and a 2.94 FIP. He's been absolutely phenomenal at home this year. And I don't think Philadelphia is going to be the lineup to throw him off his reign of terror here. Here are the Phillies numbers against righties in the last 14 days. 19th in OPS, 19th in WRC+. Certainly nothing scary. Bottom half of the league in most offensive categories against righties recently. And on the fact that there's a revenge angle to this. Zach Eflin pitching against his old team, the Phillies. I think we can count on Zach Eflin to continue to deal at home. And on the other side, we've got Aaron Nola, and this dude has not pitched a good game on the road since Trump was in office. Actually, it's been since April, but seriously, look at his numbers from his 6 road starts since May 1st. 6.08 ERA, 2.2 home runs per 9, 5.50 FIP. I don't know how else to say. This isn't a Met fan thing. Like, obviously, I root against Aaron Nola. I'm a Mets fan, but he just straight up hasn't been reliable this year, and Phillies fans will tell you the same thing. And if you're wondering, hey, Kyle, have the Rays bats cooled off? Absolutely not. Here are their numbers in the last 14 days against right-handed pitching, top 10 in every single category, business as usual in Tampa Bay. What about their numbers at home? Yup. Still business as usual in Tampa Bay in the last 30 days at home, 7th in OPS, 4th in WRC+. The crazy part is usually Aaron Nola on the road as an underdog is the spot I like to back him. I did it earlier in the season at Houston, and he actually pitched a good game, but that was the last time he pitched a good road start. I think it was April 27th or April 28th at Houston. He's been so bad on the road. There's no way I can get there in this one, especially with Zach Eflin pitching a home start on the other side. Now, here's where this one gets a bit weird, the bullpen battle. I swear the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen has to be the toughest unit to track in any aspect of baseball. The Phillies will have the worst bullpen in baseball over a 2-week span, and then you check it, the next 2 weeks after that, they have one of the best. As you can see in the last 14 days, 2nd in ERA, 2nd in WOBA, 2nd in FIP. Phillies bullpen all of a sudden hot again. Next week, it'll be ice cold. I'm telling you, crazy volatility in this Phillies bullpen. So weirdly, the Phillies bullpen has outproduced the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen recently. But is that going to be enough to take me off a Tampa Bay Rays bet here? No. What it might do is cause me to bet Rays first 5 minus a half run. That'll also get me off the steep minus 140 price. I'm not making any final decisions yet. I can tell you with certainty I will not be betting the Phillies, though. I'm either going to bet the Rays money line, hoping some Phillies action comes in, knocks this price down to minus 135, minus 130. We'll see. So I'm going to say Rays money line or Rays first 5 minus a half run. Let you know on the live show next game. Cubbies on the road in Milwaukee to play the Brew Crew. Kyle Hendricks pitching against Wade Miley. Milwaukee opens up as slight favorites here, minus 120. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, slightly on Chicago. 1-0 Cubs after 5 innings. Final score 3-1 Cubs, so also a heavy lean on the under here. Here's something I didn't expect to be saying this year. The Brewers are hot right now. Milwaukee's now won 7 of their last 9. Their offense has exploded. In their last 4 games, they're averaging 8 runs per. And now they face Kyle Hendricks, who's really looked excellent so far this year. He's got a 2.81 ERA, 0.96 whip, 3.65 FIP. But look at his expected numbers. 4.14 expected ERA, 5.24 expected FIP. Indicates that there may be some regression around the corner in a negative way for Kyle Hendricks. And that's not a good sign considering he's facing a Milwaukee team that he's really struggled against. In his last 6 starts against the Brewers, he's 0-2 with an 8.13 ERA and a 1.77 whip. He really has struggled against Milwaukee. In his last 3 trips to Milwaukee, he's 0-1 with an 8.10 ERA, 3.4 home runs per 9 and a 1.65 whip. So despite Kyle Hendricks having great looking numbers on the year, I think this is looking like a prime spot for him to get hit up. And on the other side, we've got Wade Miley, and he's been solid as shit also. He's got a 3.02 ERA, 2.19 OBA, and a 1.06 whip. But similar to Kyle Hendricks, he's got some expected numbers that indicates there's some negative regression coming. He's got a 4.81 expected ERA and a 4.93 expected FIP. The difference is the Cubs bats have not been that hot against lefties. In fact, over the last 30 days, they're just 20th in WRC+, 20th in WOBA, 23rd in average. And unlike Kyle Hendricks, who has struggled against Milwaukee in the past, Wade Miley has great recent history against the Cubs. 3-0 with a 2.40 ERA and a 1.33 whip in his last 5 starts against the Cubs. The current Chicago Cubs lineup has 44 career bats against Wade Miley, and they're hitting just 205 with a 505 OPS off him. with 0 extra base hits. I think the table's set for Wade Miley to pitch a great game. So everything's pointing towards the Brewers so far. When it gets to the bullpen, this is where things get a bit hairy for Milwaukee, considering Devin Williams just pitched 2 straight games. Payamps has pitched 4 of the last 6 days. This bullpen's pretty taxed. So I think the best angle here is to go Brewers first 5 money line. You can get it around -120, or possibly a Brewers team total over. Next game, Mariners at Giants. Logan Gilbert pitching against Keaton Winn, or we think it's going to be Keaton Winn as the primary pitcher. We'll see. Probably be Ryan Walker pitches the first inning, and then that's what San Francisco usually does. No lines for this one. No line, no total, nothing. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we got 2-1 Giants after 5 innings. Final score 4-3 Giants. I'm going to skip this one for now. Like I said, no line open, no total open. Just want to confirm that these are definitely going to be the starting pitchers tomorrow, or the primary pitchers, I should say. I'll probably have a bet for this one on the live show tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Next game, Angels on the road in San Diego to play the Padres. Badass pitching matchup here. Shohei Ohtani pitching against Joe Musgrove. Padres open up as very slight favorites, -115. Total opens up down at 7.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We definitely got to lean on the Angels here. 4-2 Halos after 5 innings. Final score 7-4 Angels. So we got 2 aces on the mound, like I said, and that always makes it tough to cap. First thing that stood out to me was the home away splits for Ohtani. His last 4 road starts are pretty rough looking. 5.63 ERA, 3.36 WOBA, 5.58 FIP. Definitely not the Shohei Ohtani we're used to seeing. And now he faces a Padres lineup that on paper has been solid against right-handed pitching. In the last 2 weeks, 10th in WRC+, 9th in on-base percentage, 10th in WOBA. So on paper, the Padres have been hitting right-handed pitching. But I feel that's a bit of a mirage, because if you look at the last 5 righty starters to face the Padres, 23 2/3 innings pitched, 2.28 ERA, and a 1.26 WHIP. So righty starters are pitching well against San Diego. Story of the Padres season is pretty much mirrored right here. They're getting a fair amount of guys on base. They're showing some power, but still struggling to produce runs. On the other side is Joe Musgrove, and it's no secret that this dude's been on a mission recently. Look at the numbers from his last 7 starts: a 2.13 ERA, a 0.2 home runs per 9, a 1.09 WHIP, 2.53 FIP. Absolutely nasty stuff here. But I do have to ask, who has he pitched against? His last 7 starts, those numbers I just read: Yankees, Marlins, Mariners, Guardians, Rays, Nats, and Pirates. 5 of those 7 teams are in the bottom 12 in OPS versus right-handed pitching in the last 30 days. Now he's pitching against the Angels, and they're hot against right-handed pitching, and they have been pretty much this whole year. In the last 2 weeks, they're 5th in WRC+, 5th in WOBA, 2nd in isolated power. On top of that, the Angels have consistently been one of the best road offenses in baseball, especially against right-handed pitching. Versus righties on the road in the last 30 days. They're 1st in WRC+, 1st in WOBA, 1st in isolated power. I think it's safe to say that this might be Joe Musgrove's toughest matchup to date on the season. And it's definitely not great news that this Angels lineup has shown a ton of power against Musgrove lifetime. Through 48 career at bats, they have 1,000 OPS and a fat 12.5 home run percentage. That includes 15 RBIs in just 48 at bats. An average of 1 nearly every 3 plate appearances. Joe Musgrove in a vulnerable spot here. But when it gets to the bullpens, this is where things get interesting. I mean, it's no secret that the Angels bullpen has been struggling. I've said that on this channel a few times recently. But look at the Padres bullpen. This is over the last 14 days. Angels are 18th in ERA, 20th in WOBA, 16th in FIP, 9th in expected FIP. Padres over that same span in those same statistical categories, 27th, 28th, 29th, 27th. The Padres bullpen has been awful recently. So add on the fact that the Angels have the bullpen edge here as well. I think there's some value here on the Angels money line at plus money. So I'm going to say Angels money line. I also like the over. So let's say Angels or over, or maybe I'll end up betting both. I'll let you know on the live show. Next game, Oakland on the road in Detroit to play the Tigers. JP Sears pitching against Tariq Skubal. Scoobs is back. Detroit opens up as heavy favorites here, -175. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got to lean on Detroit. 2-0 Tigers after 5 innings. Final score 4-2 Tigers. So I'm going to pass on this one. Who knows what to expect from Skubal in his first start back from injury. He's been out a while. I'm a Skubal guy. I like backing him, but certainly don't feel comfortable backing him in his first start back. So I'm going to pass. Next game, Atlanta Braves still red hot on the road in Cleveland here. Colby Allard pitching against Shane Bieber. Braves open up as slight favorites here, -120. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and of course, we have a lead on the Braves. 3-0 Atlanta after 5 innings. Final score 5-2 Atlanta. So these prices are starting to get really tempting, man. You got Shane Bieber at home, where he's been much better at a cheap price. Not a chance in hell I'm fading this Braves team right now. Braves was my bet of the night last night. It hit. Atlanta is now 17-1 in their last 18 games. And sure, Shane Bieber has been great at home in Cleveland this year, but the Braves have been demolishing high-quality pitchers left and right. Recently, we've seen quality starters like Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez, Joe Ryan, Michael Lorenzen, all allow 4+ runs to the Braves, and that's just in the last 2 weeks. And in that span, over the last 2 weeks, the Braves are first in WRC+, first in WOBA, first in isolated power. This is their numbers against right-handed pitching. All those figures, they're first by a mile. I mean, unless Shane Bieber's about to put together a legacy start, I think he falls victim to this red-hot Braves team. On the other side is this kid Allard, and there's really not much to know about him. At least I should say I don't know much about him. He operated strictly out of the bullpen and didn't put up the best numbers in 2022. But he did have a couple nice rehab appearances in the minors, and he earned his first start as a Brave against Minnesota last Wednesday, and he pitched pretty well. 4 2/3 innings, 3 hits, no runs, and 8 strikeouts. Now, admittedly, the Twins have a bottom 5 lineup against left-handed pitching this season, but I mean, has Cleveland been much better? Over the last 2 weeks, Cleveland's 27th in WRC+, 26th in WOBA, and 28th in OBP against lefties. Would it shock you to see Allard go out and pitch 5 innings of 2-run baseball? No, I'd say not at all. Now, when it gets to the bullpen, you may think that Cleveland would have the huge advantage here based on what we've seen over the last couple months, but the Guardians bullpen is going through it right now. Clase just blew a 6-2 lead. Steffens had 2 or 3 bad outings in a row. This Cleveland bullpen is falling apart before our eyes. And if you just go based on the numbers of the last 10 days, you can actually make an argument that the Braves have the bullpen edge here. So yeah, it looks like a trap. Yeah, it's a sketchy line, but I mean, I'm going right back to Atlanta. Give me the Braves on the money line. I don't care if it's super public. I don't care if it's super square. Next game. Blue Jays on the road in Chi-Town to play the White Sox. Chris Bassett pitching against Giolito. Toronto opens up as slight road favorites here, -115. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we got a lead on Chicago here. 4-2 White Sox after 5 innings. Final score 6-3 White Sox. So we got Chris Bassett making a road start, and if you're familiar with his splits, you know that's a scary spot for him. 5.89 ERA, 3.89 WOBA, 6.35 FIP. All pretty brutal numbers on the road for Bassett. You would think a matchup against the White Sox would be a nice spot to improve those numbers, but check out the White Sox numbers against righties over the last 2 weeks. Chicago started hitting righties. They're 4th in WRC+, 3rd in WOBA, 4th in isolated power. White Sox out of nowhere hitting right-handed pitching. The good news for Bassett would be he's most likely facing 6 right-handed bats in this lineup. And if you look at his splits against lefties and righties, especially on the road, you can see he is awful against left-handed bats on the road, but his numbers against right-handed bats on the road actually somewhat respectable. 292 WOBA, 127 WHIP, 444 FIP. I mean, still not great, but somewhat respectable. But then we go right back to some bad news for Bassett. He hasn't had success here. He's made 3 career starts on the road in Chicago. He's 1-2 with a 4.73 ERA. I think the White Sox are going to put runs up on Bassett here. Now, on the other side, we got Giolito, and like Chris Bassett, this dude has been much better at home than he has been on the road. Now, fortunately for Giolito, the game's in Chicago, so let's take a look at his home numbers. We got a 2.36 ERA, 0.91 WHIP, 3.65 FIP. Giolito's truly having a great season at home. Now, when we look at his numbers last year against Toronto, he got annihilated by the Blue Jays both times he saw him. He went 0-2 with a 12.10 ERA, 2.27 WHIP, 3.7 home runs per 9. Truly heinous here. That being said, last year was just uncharacteristic for Giolito, though. It was by far his worst year as a member of the White Sox. He was getting cranked left and right. Not to mention, the Blue Jays were also crushing righties last year. They're sitting top 5 in pretty much every offensive category against righties last season. In this spot, we have Giolito, who's pitching much better this year against a Blue Jays lineup that just is pretty mediocre against right-handed pitching right now. In the last 2 weeks, Toronto's 17th in WRC+, 20th in WOBA, 23rd in OBP. I think Giolito could have a performance here similar to his previous starts against Toronto before last year. In his 3 previous starts before 2022, he was 2-0 with a 1.50 ERA and an 0.88 WHIP. So he has had success against Toronto. Last year just wasn't his year. Really no leans on the bullpen. If you look at the numbers from these 2 bullpens, pretty evenly matched across the board. I'm anticipating the public coming in on Toronto here, so I think this is a nice sharp spot to take the White Sox. Probably going to play them on the money line, not the plus money. It's at plus 108 right now. Next game, Pirates at Dodgers. Louis Ortiz pitching against Emmett Sheehan. Dodgers open up as heavy favorites here as expected, minus 215. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got a lean on LA, shocker. 3-0 Dodgers after 5 innings. Final score 5-1 Dodgers. I'm going to skip this one for now. It's late. It's after 1 in the morning, and I really don't know what I want to say about this one yet. I'll take a look at it in the morning. I mean, the Pirates have weird success against the Dodgers, and on paper, the Dodgers should absolutely murder Louis Ortiz. I'm just going to pass for now. I might have a bet for this one on the live show at 11 a.m. Pass. If anything changes with any of the bets I just gave in this video, I'll let you know on Twitter, so give me a follow there if you're interested. Like I've mentioned several times, live show, 11 a.m., 4th of July show. We're going through all 15 games. Me, Toast, maybe we'll have a third guest. I'll send out a couple DMs. If not, it'll just be the 2 of us. We'll do the community parlay, all that. Come hang out before you do your whatever you got planned for the holidays. Hope to see you in the comments. Also, if you want the final tickets that we put out every single day, which has every single bet I'm placing, top bets, parlay today, that kind of stuff, and the private VIP chat where we do live bets, head over to KyleKirms.com if you're interested in that. All right, 4th of July should be a great day of baseball. Happy Independence Day to everyone. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you on Twitter.